When you're in marriage counseling, the best suggestion that I can give is have the commitment to be all in while you're working on. Do you want your marriage to work? Yes or no? Does your spouse want your marriage to work? If the answer to that is no, we don't need to go any further because you don't have a viable marriage. Love is very much a choice.
Right.
And if you're having an emotional affair with that, I think it's an incorrect choice. Okay, so this one is with Dave Ramsey and his daughter, and it says, my wife is done with our marriage but won't leave. So stick around. This one's going to be good. We're going to get a lawyer's perspective on what happens if your marriage is over and your wife refuses to leave the house. You ready for this one?
Mm-hmm. So a little bit of a backstory. I got married at a pretty young age. So, life was good. We're doing the 5 baby steps. We managed to pay off a lot of debt, and then got a 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund sitting. And so, a year and a half ago, we were blessed with a little baby boy. And
awesome.
So now, our marriage started getting really rocky. It was we had a hard time. And so now my wife, she's saying how she doesn't want to be together anymore. She doesn't.
Okay, that's what would possibly happen in that shorter period of time?
Somebody else?
I bet you 50 cents. We'll see.
Doesn't love me anymore. She's talking to somebody else.
That didn't take long.
In the middle of the night, I'll hear her on the phone with another person.
That is unacceptable.
That
is not good.
And I just don't know what to do with that. And she wants to basically live at home still, in the same house, and so that she could raise our son. But
she wants to live at home in the same house with you while dating somebody else so that she can raise your son.
So she wants to be roommates?
She wants to be roommates. And we need no.
I don't think so.
Well, let's see what Dave says.
But it's a very difficult place for me to be in.
You think? You think that might be difficult? Of course it's difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Not to belittle him and be compassionate, but this is kind of a comedy show too. But we're gonna make you laugh, but we're gonna educate you too.
So I just need some advice on that.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry too.
I would say, I'm sorry. Get the hell out of there.
He might be about to do that.
How old are you?
24.
He's still a child.
Young.
She's still a child. And she's exhibiting childish behavior.
She might be a child. What if she's 30?
I bet she's not.
You never know.
She might be.
Okay. Dude, you don't deserve this.
I fully agree with Dave Ramsey on that one.
Yeah.
No, it takes two to break a relationship, right? I'm not blaming her on it all, 100%, but it's I wanted to make things work. We were seeing a marriage counselor and everything, and for a while there, I thought things were going good, and then about 3 weeks ago, she said she was done, she was completely done, and then a couple days later, she was talking to somebody else already. So it's
I would, if this was an initial consultation with me, I would be asking him why and what happened 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I'd be wondering, what has he been doing?
Yeah.
Not everybody's innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's talking that way, but they are in marriage counseling, so I would dig deeper for sure.
It's a tough situation.
And how old's the baby?
He's a year and a half.
Year and a half. Oh, Jake, I'm so sorry.
Yep, me too.
Oh,
yeah, what do you do?
Well, yeah, in this case, if she's in a sense, having an emotional affair and she's, talking to
she may be having a physical affair too.
People and all that. I'm she's breaking her vows.
Yes, she is.
That she made with you, and
she is.
Choosing not to walk down a path that
Correct.
you guys can have healing and move past this. And so sure, no one's perfect in a marriage, but she's making these decisions consciously to go against everything that you guys had in your marriage. And so, yeah, what Dave said earlier, but I'm at that point, she doesn't get a lot of votes right now in your life, in my opinion.
So we do a thing called a marriage viability assessment, and it's basically 3 questions. Question number 1 is, do you want your marriage to work? Yes or no? And then there's part A and part B. Mm-hmm. Part B is, does your spouse want your marriage to work? If the answer to that is no, we don't need to go any farther because you don't have a viable marriage. Well, he's got pretty clear information from his wife that she doesn't want the marriage to work. If she doesn't want it to work, it's not going to work. There's nothing that he can do to save it.
Exactly.
Opinion.
Yeah. So yeah, like
Okay, so let me back up and just address your initial question, okay? If you guys can work this out and be married, and with a marriage counselor, walk through this patch, and she can set the phone down and devote her life to you. You can set your issues down and devote your life to her. That's great, and I hope that's what can happen.
Me too. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, even more than Dave Ramsey here, I am the guard at the gate, and my general rule is thou shalt not pass, because if you pass me, you have to get a divorce. I have had several conversations, even in the past 2 weeks, with people who I have actively tried to absolutely save their marriage. Mm-hmm. There are 3 people that I'm thinking of right now who I have talked with to try to save their marriage, and they have been trying to save their marriage.
Mm-hmm.
If she actually wants a divorce, you can't stop her. It's her. You can't make other people do things.
Exactly. That's the whole point. If she doesn't want it to work,
right.
It won't. It can't. It's impossible.
Yeah,
fundamentally.
What is worse to you, a emotional affair or an actual affair? To me, or physical affair.
I mean, they're different things.
See,
it's obviously some sort of an emotional affair is different.
See, to me,
that's
an
something that you could go
affair
through.
Is the worst.
More than physical?
Yes. Because
interesting.
Because and a lot of women would agree with me on this, is because an emotional affair, you're basically like sharing deep thoughts and your feelings, and you're giving yourself to that person to a level that you would be giving to your spouse. If there's a physical affair where it's like that one-time mistake, someone makes a mistake.
That is different.
I think I'd be more willing and able to forgive.
Interesting.
I would still be deeply hurt, but I would be more willing and thinking I would be more able to forgive than somebody who has had like this ongoing deep emotional affair with somebody, and to a point that maybe they're sharing that they love them and things like that. How do you get past that? I mean,
love is very much a choice.
Right.
And if you're having an emotional affair with that is I think it's an incorrect choice that you should not allow yourself to do.
The best word of advice I can give anybody is don't ever get yourself in a position with somebody like
Correct.
that. There needs to be boundaries. You can have friendships with the opposite sex, but you need to have boundaries, and
Absolutely.
you can't pass those boundaries.
Absolutely.
So
this is why I'm actually glad that my wife is not one of the co-hosts, because I would be tempted to go, have you ever had an emotional relationship?
I don't think she has.
Have you? I'm.
Oh, me?
Yeah. Have you?
No, not at all.
Would you admit it if you had?
Yeah. No.
Okay. Has Daniel?
No.
Are these questions too personal for
not
you?
Not that I'm aware of. No, I mean,
have not either.
I've definitely had male friends. I mean, you got to look at it like this. I ran restaurants, and, my chef was a male. I was very close with the chefs that I worked with. We talked all the time. We had conversations, but it never was like cross the line. There was definitely boundaries there. And we respected one another in that kind of sense. Like, because both my chefs
you were just people
I was close with, they had spouses. I respected that they had a spouse. They respected I had one. So, yeah, I think that's the difference. But a lot of people don't have that kind of control.
That's true. And that is something that people really would do better to work on and teach themselves how to have that control. Because it is a learned skill, and it's an intentional skill. It's not something that you just accidentally are going to haphazard into. As a matter of fact, you're going to accidentally haphazard into the exact opposite of what you should do. This is where your wisdom and decisions and knowledge and own choice has to overcome and control and manipulate your emotions to deliver you the results that you want, to where your emotions are led down proper paths and don't grow fruit in an area that you don't want to harvest.
Right.
And instead that you're intentionally growing and cultivating that fruit in the relationship that you have with your spouse, so that the feelings then will grow. A lot of people think, well, I don't feel that like infatuation with them anymore. Well, it's because you have made choices to not plant those seeds.
People have to realize you have to work on that kind of stuff.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at.
you have to date your spouse.
That's right.
You have to continue to grow together. You have to work on intimacy together. It's
Exactly.
not something that, like, if you don't work on it, it will go away.
That's right.
I mean, it's not going to be there.
Hey, do you like how I'm matching Dave's shirt today?
Oh, wow. I just noticed that too.
Wow. Oh, am I going to lose all my hair soon? All right, here we go.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can't make my wife do anything. Believe me.
I can't make my wife do anything. I mean, I think we could do a couple of episodes just on can you make your wife do something. Maybe we should come back to that one.
Yeah.
We're married 40 years. I can't make her do anything.
Exactly.
And she really can't make me do anything either, in all fairness. Okay.
But you can invite her to do things, and you can put structures and give her clear communication about your intentions and your desires in the marriage, and you can make intentional choices that will naturally lead her to love you and want to be with you. You can do certain of those things, and a lot of those things have to do with simply being confident, and confidence is a choice ahead of time, but it's also a result after the fact. It's a result of you making wise choices. Things like always telling the truth, being honest, not doing things that you would need to hide from your spouse, having good self-discipline, growing to be the person that you would want them to be, and giving honor to them in the way that they give honor to you by being trustworthy. And therefore you can trust them. My wife and I have a tremendous high level of trust. And if something goes wrong, this is one of the symptoms in a recent marriage was the spouse had criticism of how the other spouse handled something, and was more concerned about punishing the other spouse for doing it wrong than working together so that they understood why they did it wrong, came to the same page that when it was wrong because of how it made them feel, and what we can do to make that feeling not occur again in the future. And by working through that problem, it brings you closer. Instead of if you don't work through it and you just want to punish and oh, it's all them. Well, it's some of you too. How
Right.
are they supposed to know? Have you communicated it to them? And if so, maybe it's something that it's going to take active work to work on. And so if it's something that is a repetitive problem, as opposed to this could be a brand new fresh problem. And so in your marriage, how do you handle good and fresh problems? Do you handle it in a healthy way? Do you talk it out and come to a resolution that will bring you all closer together, and that you both work and go, okay, now I see what that was. I have thought about it as well to go, how do I go back to the beginning of that, of what led me to make decisions without consulting with my spouse? And was that a big decision? Where is our threshold of, I don't like the brand of cinnamon that you bought versus you bought a car without talking to me ahead of time,
Right.
that doesn't even fit all the members of our family in it, for example. There are certain decisions that are much bigger than another. Did you go spend $15,000 without asking or discuss, not even asking? It's a discussion about it, letting them know, as opposed to, I made this decision, go, I want to make this decision. All right, let me think about that. And yeah, okay, I think it should, just going through that courtesy in a relationship with your partner. You have a partner. If you're married, you're partners. And for something like that, I've just spent $15,000 on something. All right, if you make $10 million a year and you spent $15,000 once that year, okay, not a big deal. If you make $30,000 a year and you just spent $15,000, hold on, you've committed me to half a year worth of our total income, which is 3 years worth of our discretionary income. So you made me be a slave for 3 years to earn that money that you made a decision and I didn't even get any output. That's like stealing, is what it feels like from my point of view. Versus if you're making $60,000 a year and you spend $15, okay, that's a difference, but it's all in proportion. If it's a tiny little percentage of what's there, I'm not going to nitpick the brand of cinnamon that you bought. But I'm going to criticize the fact that you got the cinnamon colored Porsche that you didn't discuss with me ahead of time, and we're not talking about the Matchbox version. You have a car sitting in my driveway. That whole lie that the car companies do at Christmas time, where there's a car and there's a bow on it, Oh, it boils my blood. If my wife, unless it was, oh, we want this car, oh, we can't afford it, and somehow secretly you went out and worked, you stayed up at night and I didn't notice, and you were still a pleasant person, not groggy because you weren't getting enough sleep, and you somehow earned enough money to pay for something on your own, and we are so well off. And for example, you shouldn't even buy a new car until you have more than $1 million in net worth. That's from Dave Ramsey as well. So let's go back and see what Dave has to say about if this isn't going to work. I think is that where he's going? You think?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Here we go.
I would.
We all make decisions as individual adults, okay? So you can't make people do what you want to do, but what you can decide is what's right for you based on the decisions they're making.
Yep.
And and you know when you say out loud, we're going to get a divorce and live in the same house and be roommates, that's just strange, weird, and dumb. You know when you say that out loud that it is all of those things,
It's
right?
strange, it's weird, and mostly dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's heartbreaking.
Not even a possibility, okay? If we're going to go through a divorce, that means we're not going to be married and we're going to have separate lives.
Exactly. Now, I will say this. Depending on how this goes, if he were to be talking to me and this was an initial consultation, I may or may not recommend that he leaves the house, and I may or may not recommend that he insist upon staying. But I definitely would say this. I don't want my clients leaving the house until and unless we have an agreement about enough that they won't use that as leverage. Because, for example, if my client leaves the house, and in this one, for example, if he's the breadwinner and she's making no money and he leaves the house, she's got what she wants. Why would she agree to a divorce where the house is likely to have to be sold, or where she, instead of having all of the house right now and he's paying for it, where she might have to go get a job and pay for the house herself? So I wouldn't recommend that he moves out unless and until we get an agreement. But the fact that she wants him to move out, if she does, or if maybe she wants him to stay, I don't know. But a lot of times people will want our client to move out. I almost universally will recommend that our client not move out unless they have an equivalent amount of money. For example, if they're in $1 million house, but they have $3 million worth of other cash and liquidatable assets, fine, you can move out of the house. Because they'll keep the house and you can go buy another house and you're fine. But if the house is the only asset and you move out, they've got everything, and you're over here going, hey, sign this agreement, so then that way we'll split half and half, and this house will have to be sold that I'm paying for you to live in for free. They'll never come to an agreement.
Right.
And the divorce will take you 2 and 3 years. So it's very important that you consult with a competent, experienced divorce law firm prior to making any decisions about moving out of your marital residence at all. Now, if there's been violence, it's even that much more important that you call immediately and talk to them and hire them and get competent advice. Do not listen to your friends. We're going to be doing some of these commentary videos like this about a lot of these TikTok bad. We're going to do a whole series on bad TikTok advice, and those are going to be probably pretty funny, but they're definitely going to be educational.
Well, and you also have to remember that if you move out, you now have to pay that house payment, and then you got to buy or rent something else. So now you might be paying, when you were paying $2,000, now you're paying $4,000 or whatever.
Yep.
So
it gets very complicated very quickly.
And that ends up happening to men. Then they have to pay spousal support too. And then it just becomes more and more out of their pocket.
It happens to both men and women.
And it kills them.
We see both sides of that.
Yeah.
I would say probably more men, but it's not as big of a disparity as you think.
No, we're not living in the same house. That's asinine.
Right.
So she doesn't want to leave, Jake? Is that this,
he said she wants to stay in the house with
she
him.
wants to be in the house with you, or she just wants the house?
It's got to be a financial thing. She's living there for free. I bet she doesn't want to go get a job, and she thinks
she's a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's see.
No, she wants to, because she doesn't have a degree in anything, and for her to right now, like the way the market is right now, for even renting a home would be super hard for her. So she basically wants to just live there, and she does not want to go back to work. So that's because.
Boom. I love Dave's energy. He's just going. He's like, do something about this kid. Do something. Make a choice in your life.
She wants to raise our son, which it would be better for him. I agree.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. He does not need to be raised by divorced parents living in the same house together.
I could not agree more.
Yeah.
You need to have two households that are as healthy as possible. But because
It's not going to be healthy.
Because what that demonstrates to your son is not what you tell him your marriage is. It's what you show him that your marriage is. Mm-hmm. You're demonstrating that that's what marriage is to your son. And there's this thing called the J curve, also referred to as a generational curse. Kids do not hear what you tell them. They hear what you show them. Mm-hmm. Only your actions, your body language is what really communicates to children. You can tell them all kinds of stuff, but unless you show them, they're not going to learn it. And what you're going to show your son here is that type of dynamic. So what is he most likely to manifest? The subconscious equates familiarity with safety, even if it's not. So he is going to see the safety in what's familiar to him. Y'all's relationship as parents will be what's familiar to him, and his subconscious is most likely going to manifest into reality a relationship just like you've demonstrated. That's the generational curse, and it forms a J. You start at 0, you put all your negative stuff into your kids, and then they go, wait, I want something better over time. Let me get something better. It's too hard. I'm going to go back down to the bottom of the J. And then they do the same thing to their kids, and generational over and over. It's called the J curve, generational curse. Unless this guy and his wife break that generational curse, it's more likely that his children will have a marriage just like he has. And whether they think that they're divorced or not, it's not. The kids are going to perceive that they're married. Oh, they're not married, but they're going to think that's what the relationship is. And they're going to think it's okay that mommy goes out and cheats. Mm-hmm. What happens when he gets a girlfriend?
He's never going to know relationship stability. He's never going to know what it should look like.
Exactly.
That's so freaking weird. It's psychologically damaging to your son. No.
It's almost like Dave and I know what we're talking about, and you too. I just didn't know how to say Dave and us. Dave and we. Dave and we know.
I think it's Dave and us.
I think it's Dave and we know, if I'm putting the verb after it. All right. So this is obviously not an English grammar podcast.
Thank God.
No, that's not better for your son.
It is not.
It sounds, this poor girl, she's so screwed up. I don't want to work
does she have?
and earn money, but I don't want to be married. Well, darling, you get to choose one or the other. That's not the way this is going to work out. Yeah. So, yeah, I think if we're going to get a divorce, that she's going to have to go get an apartment. You guys are going to sell the house, and you're going to go get an apartment.
I think Dave's probably accurate.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you're not going to live together.
All right.
I mean,
yeah,
does that make? I mean, you knew that, right?
Yeah, I did. And I just like I don't.
Here's the thing: sometimes people just need to hear it, and people you have to give them clarity. And he's getting clarity by making this call in, and our clients get clarity by calling in and talking with us and working through the problems with us. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons why I like doing our initial consultations so much is because that is the top place where I give them absolute and clear clarity about their situation, and it's like taking a 1,000-pound weight off of people during that call. I've had people that tell me it changes their life just during the initial consultation.
I didn't want to be the guy to just like decide something, and for it to not work out in the end. So that's why I figured.
Well, if you guys staying in the same house involves healing your marriage, I'm all for it.
Me too. Absolutely. And I want you to stay in the same house where you're trying to heal the marriage. Yeah. Somebody moving out and then going to marriage counseling, odds ain't great. Odds are not good at all. And when you're in marriage counseling, the best suggestion that I can give is have the commitment to be all in while you're working on it. And if not, then either be all in or be all out, but work on it. And Dana's rules about marriage counseling, if you've only been to 20 different marriage counselors, then you've only just begun. Mm-hmm. If you're at 100, maybe it's you. Yeah. And so if you find a marriage counselor and one of the two of you doesn't like it, go to a different one. If one of you loves the marriage counselor and the other one doesn't like him, go to a different one. If you're at 20, you need to maybe pick one. Pick the best or that you like out of the 20. And if it's always consistently the same person that doesn't like the marriage counselor, it's probably them. But we tried marriage counseling once and it didn't work. Duh. Yeah. You're gonna go to 20 of them 5 times each. and then tell me whether marriage counseling is working, and tell me why it's not working, and what the issues and problems are. But if you're both going all in, now if you're just doing it to go through the motions, just to make them feel better because you can't really break up with them and you've absolutely made your decision, you're all out and you know it, be honest with them and just do that. But that's go to marriage counseling. Always go to marriage counseling.
Yeah.
But not
Yeah,
work out
I
in the,
agree.
there's nothing where you divorce and live in the same house together that works out in the end.
Agree. No question.
You're a highly unattractive single guy at this point.
Boom. There you go. That's a Jennifer.
That
Yeah.
you live in a house with your ex, because it has a big arrow above your head that says stupid. Okay.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, Tate,
No, really,
Jake
that
is-
would not. You
Jake is
don't want to
looking
do
really
this. You don't want to do this.
No,
man.
I know you don't. No, but
No.
and he seems like such a kind
He's a sweet guy.
person.
He's a sweet
so
guy.
to have the conversation with her, Jake, is that she's doing this. Like that's
Yeah.
my thing. You're not the one putting her out on the street and not letting her be home with her child. She's making decisions about her life that is now choosing to isolate herself because she's chosen to go against her vows to her husband. So like,
Correct.
and you're probably not perfect. I'm not saying that, but like, man, it is. You reap what you sow, and there's a level of consequences that she has to face because she's making big girl decisions.
Yep.
And now she's about to get some big girl results, and she's got to deal with that. Like that's
Yep.
it's unfair to you to be the brunt of all of it.
And she calls me mean.
That was very kind. That was very kind. But man, it's just unfair to you, Jake. Like I feel for
Yeah,
you.
Jake,
Where I'm
it's-
like,
you don't
because you're a
deserve- you don't
kind
deserve
person.
this.
Even the way you're asking the question, you're so nice.
No, I'm not
So
sure.
there's a
We're
level
pretty, sure, we're
that-
pretty sure you're not perfect, but you are a nice guy, and you don't deserve this. So no, we're going to set up a normal process that says you have a future away from her if she doesn't want to be with you. She has a future away from you because she doesn't want to be with you. We can't.
Even if just one of you is healthy and the other one is a total mess, at least your children have one healthy example to choose from.
Right.
And they can see, wow, this one over here is a mess. Maybe I should not make those choices.
Right.
But if you're in an environment where your parents are in this messed up, there is nothing else that's normal for the child, and that's just wrong.
Right.
And then you can move on with your life, and she can move on with her life.
Exactly.
And we've got this connection with this 1.5-year-old.
And this is all the caveat that for some reason, if there's an issue, that she's running from the marriage to all these other relationships that you guys in counseling and therapy can work through and build a stronger marriage. That's our number one, right?
Yep.
Number
You can-
one is that you guys can heal this over time.
Absolutely.
But divorced and living in the same house is
No.
not on the agenda.
Yes.
Nope.
Okay, it's not on the agenda. We're just taking that off the table. Let's just be real clear. If we
But hire your attorney before you decide to just go ahead and move out and make decisions about that. You hire the attorney first, early on, immediately. And hire someone that's going to try and help you get through the process in the healthiest way possible.
hadn't already been. The way you can look at some of these things sometimes when you're in a fog on the decision making, folks, whether it's something deeply relational like that, where your brain just shuts down because the stress level's so high, and you really can't see clear. The way you can get clarity when you're overwhelmed with that kind of stuff is just project it out 10 years. Okay, 10 years after moving in with your ex and living in the same house, how's that working out for you?
Can you imagine? That's exactly what we do. And when we are trying to determine a divorce settlement, we are constantly projecting out where this type of settlement, where it can and most likely will get you. And there are a lot of different decisions that people don't know are major mistakes about that will set them up for failure that they can't anticipate yet. And that's another reason why it's so critical to get an attorney.
Yeah,
It's
and I think,
not.
and he probably knows that, but following through with that decision means confrontation with her, making her move, or
Yeah.
he's moving, and like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, following through with the repercussions of that decision is messy, and
Yeah.
so entering into that probably sounds exhausting for you, Jake.
Not his decision, though, it's hers.
But
I mean, she
True,
made this.
yeah, yes,
You gotta
yes.
do it.
But his decision of not living in the house with her once they're divorced,
That's
which is
like
the right decision, by the way.
Instantaneous, yeah. Doesn't take 30 seconds to make that one. Not 3 seconds to make that one. Sorry you're going through this, young man. I hope it works out. Doesn't sound like it's going to.
yep. So
It's a bad situation.
and when bad situations come up, that's what we're here for. If you're in Texas, call 214-789-4735 and we'll be happy to help you.
Yep.
And we'll see you on the next episode of the Lawyer
Yes.
Dana podcast.
Bye.